regular meeting minutes for May 9th, budget workshop meeting for May 9th, emergency meeting minutes for May 11th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to,
minutes for May 17th,
sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve all the minutes that were presented in the packet and listed on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Madam Recorder, we have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
Commissioner Dugan?
Yes.
Chairman Fernandez?
Yes.
Thank you, that's my work. And I did, just so you guys know, I will submit the emergency meeting to the AG's office. I did the other ones already.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, we're on item number 6, recognize visitors, starting on my left, Amanda.
Amanda Segura, County Manager's Office. Sarah Torres, Chief Deputy Clerk.
Sharon Edelman, Alternative Newspaper.
Ben Martins. Venus.
Danielle Avila, Manager's Office.
Roger Smith, Colfax Gazette.
Barry Harper. Center
Tommy Hill, Emergency Management.
Leonard Baca, County Sheriff.
Ashley Medina, Colfax County Health Council.
Tim Hageman, Economic Development Department.
Welcome everyone to our meeting this morning. We're on item number 7. Is there any public comment from anyone out in the audience other than what's on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I don't see it on the agenda, but I don't know if it's planned for later, but I would like to hear an update on the fire from the emergency manager, if you would approve that.
It's fine with me. You want to do that, Tom?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Tommy Hill, Colfax Emergency Management. So, been a few things going on. Regarding the Calf Canyon fire, currently there are no anticipated threats to Colfax County. The nearest line of fire to Colfax County boundary has been 6 miles and holding for a week plus now. That's the line around Guadalupita. Moving west, there's the finger coming up around Chacon. That one was still presenting a viable threat. They've managed some good work over there. There's still some heat in that finger, but there's tons of contingency in between that finger and Colfax County. So again, that section of fire is probably closer to 20 miles from the county border. And then they've been able to hold it south of 518 in the Angostura area. That chunk of fire is still trying to back into Taos County. But again, long-term, that's still probably the highest potential threat to Colfax County due to Calf Canyon fire. But again, that's quite a ways out. The Teco side is still very problematic, and they're having a lot of issues coming into San Miguel and even reaching out towards Santa Fe County. So this fire is going to be on the landscape for months to continue. It's going to be out there. Even if they get line around it right now, it's 311,000 acres with about 41% containment. Even if they get line all the way around it, the suppression repair effort on this fire is going to be months and months. Right now, there's probably about 800 miles of dozer line, just dozer line, not including hand line. You're probably talking about 1,500 miles of hand line on this fire, and all that requires suppression repair afterwards. That goes along pushing back the berms, raking everything out, making it look as natural as possible, and then reseeding efforts. So there's going to be a huge lift over the next couple months regarding this fire. Thankfully, it hasn't hit Colfax County borders. We did have folks displaced. As of today, the only evacuation go zones on the northern part of the fire are Chacon and Angostura in Taos and Warren County respectively. And then there's areas on the Pecos side in San Miguel County, and actually one area in Santa Fe County that are under evacuation go status. Total number of displaced people at this time is probably less than 200, which is quite a change. A week and a half ago, we were upwards of 15,000 people displaced by this fire. So some really good progress. 434 is now open from Mora all the way up through Angel Fire. So again, the only highway closure impacting Our side of the fire is the 518 between Mora and Sipaku, basically. It's still closed. There's tons of fire activity going on there. So going into the weekend, there's still a lot of concerns. The moisture's good. However, understanding the impact of a little bit of moisture on fuel conditions as dry as they are right now, it is fairly minimal. So one of the gauges we use is what's called the 1,000-hour fuels. A 1,000-hour fuel is basically a 4x4 size piece of wood. And it basically takes 1,000 hours of exposure to humidity change for that piece of wood to become receptive to that humidity change. And so basically a little bit of rain coming in like this, even rain directly impacting the log, is going to soak the log, but it's still going to be as dry on the inside as it is for upwards of a week to 2 weeks. And currently those 1,000-hour fuels have been hovering around 4 to 5% humidity. Bearing in mind, if you go down to the lumber store and buy yourself a 2x4 or 4x4, those are kiln dried to about 12% humidity. So we are much, much drier than even wood that you buy at the lumber store. And those conditions are going to continue. It would take moisture of this type for probably about 2 weeks solid for those fuel levels to really change over any given period of time. So even this rain that we're getting right now, it's beneficial. It's giving a lot of room for the firefighters to get in and actually go direct, and it minimizes some of that fire behavior. But we're still looking at an extended period all the way till June, late June, July, more drying. And so we might have light rains like this continually, but then followed by several days of warm weather and dryness. And so those fire dangers are going to be critical. While I'm feeling good about Calf Canyon, cautiously optimistic is the word I use. The chance for a new start going into this weekend, especially with Memorial Day and the influx of people that are coming. The bike rally hasn't been canceled. The events in Angel Fire and Taos have been canceled, but Eagle Nest and Red River still are going to continue with full event schedule. So we're talking 10,000 to 15,000 motorcycles coming in, as well as a tourist season starting in the entire Moreno Valley and Shannon Circle. So I'm worried about the potential for new starts, and new starts can prove to be just as active or more active than the fires that we've already seen impacting our county. Both national forests and state parks are closed at this time. So that is going to be beneficial because hopefully it'll minimize the impact of folks doing stupid things inside the forest, but the chances are still pretty high.
So when you say state parks, have they closed Sugary State Park?
I don't believe Sugary so far has been closed, but Eagle Nest and Cimarron Canyon have been closed.
The reason why I asked that, Tom, is I found out, I got a call about 3 weeks ago from the Friends of Sugary, very concerned because we have no law enforcement up at Sugary. The young lady that took over Mac's position, she passed the academy and she was the law enforcement person up there. She quit. So they called me and said, we have no law enforcement up here whatsoever. And so we have no one to patrol the campground at the bottom and soda pocket up on top. And so I called the representative of Montoya to pass that on to the governor and also called the sheriff and said, if you have someone around here, please go up there. I mean, we're talking, another possible fire up here, as you're just mentioning. I know they have a fire ban, we have a fire ban, but there's always stupid people that will start a fire, especially if they know that we have no law enforcement up at Sugar Canyon. And I'm very worried about that I know it burned, that was part of the track fire and it burned, but there's still a lot of fuel up there that, we could possibly lose our watershed if you get some idiot that's gonna start a fire up there. And I'm very worried we don't have any law enforcement up there. None. We have volunteers up there. That's all we have. So I've asked the sheriff to please patrol up there if you can, just so that they see that, we have someone from up there checking. And I was hoping, and I asked the representative to ask the governor, as much as I hate to have said it, but to actually close it down until we close the gate down, especially up the soda pocket, until they hire law enforcement. I had a meeting yesterday with the city manager, and I let him know our concern as a county that, there's no law enforcement up there. That's our watershed again. Do we need another fire? Heck, no, we don't. But, I'm just hoping that, there's a lot of concentration, in the Taos area, Las Vegas area, San Miguel County, Taos County, and we are always forgotten about. And so we need to keep the pressure on it, so anything that you can do to help us make sure that they get somebody hired up here. I'm sure there's been applicants that have applied for that position. What I was told in talking with the city manager yesterday is, they haven't even opened up their doors yet to do any hiring. They're still looking for an HR person in the state of New Mexico to be able to hire these people for these, like, for example, the state park. So that even worried me even more when I talked to him yesterday. The state is way behind on the 8 ball here, and I would rather see them close the camping area, because we're gonna get somebody up here from out of town that doesn't read the signs, and they're gonna start a fire up there. We're gonna have another, I hope to God we don't have another fire up here, but, again, the concentration's been San Miguel and Taos County, and they're forgetting about Colfax County. And as I told the representative, you need to tell the governor that, we need to protect that watershed, and make sure that we get people up here. I don't care if it's state police or who it is, but they need to patrol that if they're gonna keep it open. Because I hate to repeat myself, but it just left out in the open. And we need some protection up here, not only for that watershed, but, or mainly for the watershed, but, it worries the heck out of me. So anything that you can do or make phone calls, Tom, I hate to interrupt you, but since you were, talking about these issues with the fire, I have to bring this up, that we've got to do something. We've got to stay on top of it. And I'm still making phone calls to our representatives, say, we have not heard anything. We need to stay on top of this, because, or shut it down, shut the place down, because I'd rather see them lose money than that place catch on fire. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, and if you can make some phone calls to whoever we have connections with, Tom, as the emergency manager of Colfax County, I would appreciate if you can do that.
Sure, and like I said, I wasn't sure of the status of that, but that's something I'll check into, whether or not they actually are planning on closing that or not. But that is something that we can actually request under critical fire danger, is request closure of the state park. And it'd be up to the state whether or not they want to comply with that, but certainly I can make some phone calls and look into that.
I appreciate it.
So, well, one final bit, Cook's Peak Fire, again, not to forget our other fires. So it's, I think they're still listing at 98% contained. Not that there's any trouble areas, but by leaving it open, it allows them to continue suppression repair. And so they have a minimal crew, about 40 personnel working that fire right now. And they're taking care of some stuff, especially on the backside on state land. What I've done so far is, so a group of various landowners have approached me. And so it's UU Bar Ranch, Philmont, and then the state land office. And they've asked the county to pursue a cooperative agreement of going through NRCS for an emergency watershed protection program. So I've started that preliminary paperwork. Under the next meeting, I'm actually presenting it formally to the commission for your approval. But right now, it's just getting the ball rolling to get NRCS to start working. It's the same thing we've done with the Ute Park fire. The identified watershed impacted is the Miami watershed. So that's affecting Miami, both irrigation and domestic water, and then any downstream users from the Riado. Thankfully, the Riado goes into the Cimarron below the Springer intake, so it didn't affect Springer. But of course, we have to be concerned about the water users going further down the Cimarron into the Canadian and all our neighbors that way. So as part of an emergency watershed protection program, NRCS is going to look at various diversion methods to stop erosion and contain sediment as it comes down from the fire burn scar. So that includes things done on slope, whether that's felling on grade, wattles, other water barring methods to slow down the water as it comes down the slope. And then once you get to the larger collection points, sediment catchment basins, where the water is actually held for a short time, the sediment can fall out, and then the water proceeds on down. So those methods are fairly standard, and they're highly impactful. In fact, we saw a huge reduction in the amount of sediment once we completed those projects on Philmont. And that was both for the Cimarron River itself and the Little Cimarron, coming on Cimoncito. So highly effective. The projects are typically a 75-25 cost share. Now, Colfax County being the supporting fiscal agent for this would bear the brunt of that cost share. However, I have guarantees from both the state land office and the two private partners that they will do what they can to come up with matching funds, whether that's actual physical cash or in kind. That's what we did with U Park Fire is Philmont was able to meet that in kind with equipment costs and personnel time. Basically, I think U Park, it was right around $500,000, and that cost share of 25% was met by, a couple weeks with the dozer. The dozer, you're charging about $3,000 a day, so you can easily come up with that cost share. Under this agreement right now, NRCS is actually applying to the Washington office for a 90-10 cost share because this was such a large-scale disaster and been declared a national disaster on that front. And so that amount of the cost share will be fairly greatly reduced at 10%. And again, we have guarantees from the state land office that they'll most likely just do their part in cash. And if possible, they were going to look at providing the entire cost share. But in particular, they can guarantee any impact to state land, they can meet that cost share portion. But then again, the other partners have offered up that in kind. And then any work that we do can also be applied to that in kind. So any groundwork that I have involved with this project can match that. But again, there'll be a full rundown that'll be provided on the next meeting. But wanted you guys to be aware that is working on. We'd like to get that project in place, hopefully, probably not before monsoons. I mean, ideally, I'd like to start before monsoon, but I don't think there's time. But certainly like to get those projects in place and done before winter hits, because then, it's done by the time spring runoff starts happening.
Danielle, we need to make sure we have that on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, I'll have a full write-up and description by that point.
Any questions from the commission?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Tom, before we move on, I just want to thank you and Nick and the sheriff for, you guys have put in a ton of hours up there, whether it's protecting lives up there and, you guys put in a lot of time. I know, the couple of times I've been up there, you guys look wore out and I know it's a lot of work, a lot of planning, until you're there and actually, I think I said this last meeting is, I've never seen a team so professional and so knowledgeable about fires. We take it for granted, I think, just sitting back and watching, whether it's on Facebook or the news, but there is a ton of planning going on, who's going to go where, and as I said last time, somebody's getting up talking about safety, somebody's getting up and talking about the weather, and it's just bam, 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 everybody knows exactly what they've got to do, and there's a lot of work that's put into it, a lot of mental work that's put into it, so I want to thank you guys for doing that. Tom, I know you put in a lot of time there. Nick and the sheriff, trying to help the people, especially around the Angel Fire area that you guys have been working the last couple of 2-3 weeks to protect those homes and the people that live up there. So I know Brett's been involved in quite a bit of it. The information that you guys have given out, sure we've done a heck of a job on Facebook and getting the correct information out to everyone and keeping everyone updated. So I want to thank you all for doing that. And I know Commissioner Weir's been very involved in that stuff too. So I want to thank him also. It takes a lot of time to put into it. So thank you all for doing that. Appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I think you have somebody.
Tim?
Well, Tim is walking out, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say my only concern is that we're going to lose the sheriff and the emergency manager because they're going to become YouTubers and making their living. Now that they've got a bit of fame from being on the internet, hopefully we won't lose them.
I hope you're wrong. I don't think the sheriff and maybe, I don't know, if you want to go work there for YouTubers, no time for YouTubers, but you guys have done a heck of a job. Really appreciate it. Damn it.
Good morning, Chairman Fernandez, Commissioners. Tim Hageman with the Economic Development Department. Personally want to thank Chairman Fernandez for providing me an office while we're evacuated from war, as well as Sharon Niederman and Chuck Henry providing us a home. My wife's gonna try to see how it works this week in regards to the smoke. And if she gets through it this week, I'll be moving back to my office in the morning. So I want to thank you very much for your hospitality. During these budget times, I always try to recommend to the commission to remind having a budgeted item for economic development. Not sure if you do or not, but please consider that. Much like your airport, a great economic development asset, it needs to have a budget in regards to marketing and promoting recruitment and economic development, entrepreneurial businesses that would move to your area, much like your old airport. Our department has funding in regards to counties and municipalities that are willing to put money into an airport or an industrial park. So we work with infrastructure that is needed for those assets. So please consider that. And I want to thank Commissioner Weir for participating in our LEADS webinar this last week. And we have an opportunity to fund economic development organizations like Grow Raton has been funded in the past, as well as the county for certain projects that you need to finish right now with up to $25,000. So your Local Economic Development Act ordinance allows you to put money toward organizations like Grow Raton, and it's just part of working with a private economic development organization and having collaboration with a public entity, which is a part of your legal ordinance. So I want to thank you and continue focusing on economic development.
Just for your knowledge and information, the county manager and I are meeting with the city manager, two different meetings. One of them, as I talked to city manager Barry yesterday, because we have property that was given to us by the bank, the 230 some acres that we have, where they have a balloon every year, fiesta every year. He's got an individual that's coming to town today that wants to talk both to myself and the county manager to let us know that he wants to talk to us about, to the city about manufacturing companies here in Raton. And because we own property, the county owns property, he wants us to at least listen to see what this individual wants to bring in here. So we'll be reporting on that hopefully next meeting, and we'll go see exactly what this individual wants to bring to Raton, which I think will help the county. And so we need to listen and see exactly what is going on there. So both the county manager and I are going to be in that meeting today, just to let you know that it's kind of a private meeting, but he does want to talk about manufacturing jobs that he or she wants to bring in here. So I don't know what it's about, other than we're going to meet after. There's another meeting going on from 1 to 2:30 today that I know Robert and the county manager are going to be there. And it's over the interchange of the Clayton Road. So they're going to be involved in that meeting today. I might be there also, I'm not sure, unless there's another. Are you going to be there, Brett?
I wasn't planning on it, but I'd be happy to attend.
Well, I just don't want to have a quorum though, but if you want to go, that's fine. If not, I might go to it.
No, I think it'd be best, Mr. Chairman, that you go.
So there's some things going on here that I think within the city that might connect the county also for hopefully some jobs and economic development here in the near future. So I just wanted to let you
This
know
is
that.
a good time to promote the assets that you have. Our department in the last 2 years has been breaking records in regards to businesses that are expanding in New Mexico. So we want to keep that momentum up in Raton too.
And then lastly, I just want to say that, I was glad that we were able to help you to get a little office open here for you to to sit in there and while this fire was going on, because you did get this space from Mora, and so the county was very happy, and you're right, Mr. and Mrs. You're gonna have to, you guys stay there at your house, their home, but also, when I spoke with your wife, she was ready to go back. She said, "You're getting too comfortable up here." She was ready to go, but you weren't.
We've
So,
enjoyed it. Thank you.
hopefully you get back to Mora there and to your home and everything's safe and sound. And we are more than glad to have a little office for you, and more welcome to be here with us. So that's all I have. Commissioners, do you have anything?
And Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to add on to that, Mr. Hageman, we do have $12,500 in the budget for economic development.
All right, where are we? Number 8, we're on item number 8. Discuss and approve indigent care claims. Is that right here? But who's doing this?
I don't think she had any questions.
You didn't have any?
But there weren't any in the packet.
Okay. All right, item number 9, presentation, Colfax County Health Council, Ashley Medina. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning. Thank you for some of your time. I'm the co-coordinator of the Colfax County Health Council. Last fiscal year, we came in and did a presentation. It was a 3-part series of who we are, and then it kind of covered our deliverables. And one of our main focuses and priorities for Colfax County was suicide prevention and awareness due to the report that the New Mexico Department of Health provided. It showed that suicide was very high within our county. So we did a 3-part series last year. And for this fiscal year, we did an additional 3-part series. The short video that I want to show you, her name is Christina Neurotter, CC Neurotter. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and she's just presenting 5 tips on how to help somebody in that crisis situation. As part of completing our deliverables for this fiscal year, through Department of Health to get collectible funding, we had to present it to the commissioners for the county. So,
Thank you.
Today, I want to talk to you about suicide prevention and what we can do as a community before they need medical intervention. So what can we do as a community to make sure that our people are taken care of? Well, one of the biggest things is human kindness. How are we treating people? When you think about it, how are you interacting with people? Are you leaving them better than what you found them? And if you're not leaving them better than what you found them, are you making it not worse? One of the big things that you can do is listen to someone. Genuinely listen when you're talking to them. A lot of times we don't know what's going on, especially if your coworker down the street. They might be struggling more than they ever show you up with. They might be carrying a bigger burden than we ever know. The big thing is, if they ever come to you, listen, be kind and understanding, and don't make them ever think that you have other things going on. Take time. And act as though you were the person that's struggling. So if you were the person struggling, how would you want to be treated? Simple and normal. The other thing is, you want to make sure we're developing strong support systems. Who do you have in your circle? Who do you turn to? Do you have somebody at your school? Because our teenagers need to make sure they have people at their school they can turn to, whether they're janitors, they're teachers, or coaches, secretaries, they can be almost anything, even if they're not there. What about people in our community, our work, do they have somebody they can turn to? What about the jail? What if you're a person that you always work out with? What if you're that person? You never know if you're somebody's influence. Make sure that you're available, because having one safe person can make all the difference in having a crisis situation going from being able to just say, hey, I'm on, or hey, I really need to go to the emergency room because of this. So this is something that we can do as a community and helping other people. It's just being kind, making sure that we leave better than how we found. The other thing I talk to people about are homelessness. There are 4 areas that are very important: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Are you making sure that you're taking care of all 4 of these aspects? There are some ways that you can do this. In the mental, you can read. Some people like doing Sudoku or coloring or other aspects like that. You can take a class. Keep your mind fresh, challenge it. Do a to-do list. Sometimes we have so much stuff in our mind. We just need to make a list so that we can keep it simple and rest. Emotionally, talking or spending time with our loved ones is such a big thing for our emotions. If you miss somebody, reach out. You don't know how much it means to somebody for you to just reach out and talk to them. Talking to somebody is so underappreciated. Another thing you can do is journaling. Write down how you're feeling. There are so many other guided journals out there too. Developing healthy boundaries. This is a good way for your emotions. Whether it's with friends, family, or people that you consider toxic. Healthy boundaries are something that, as you go along, can help do that too. And if you need a little bit of help with that, talking to a therapist. You don't necessarily have to be going through something. Sometimes just talking to a therapist to maintain your mental health is taking care of yourself. And that's part of one of your coping skills. The other part is spirituality. You don't necessarily have to be religious. You can do meditation, you can go do prayer. If you want to go to church, that's something you can do. Or just being out in nature is such a therapeutic thing. And finally, physically. Walking, working out, yoga, just get moving. Sometimes your body just needs you to get moving. It helps your body move, feel better, just take care of it. These are some of the short ways that you can do to help your community. Suicide prevention is something that is very precious to all of us. So that you don't need clinical intervention. But please remember, there are plenty of resources around our community. Whether it's talking to a counselor, whether it's calling 911, or a local mental health resource. There are plenty. Make sure that you know who they are. Make sure you know who they are in your school. Make sure you know who they are in your community. And if not, always reach out and ask for help. Thank you so much.
Any questions from the commission, any comments? Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ashley, for showing up in person, and that other one sounded like a good presentation. I wish I could have heard it all, but I mean.
They're available on Facebook on our Colfax County Health Council page.
Don't have
3 of them.
Facebook.
You can just type it in and it comes up.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for doing that. Okay, we're on item number 10. Discuss, take action on the 2022-23 preliminary budget approval.
You again?
That's me again.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioners, County Manager, and Madam Clerk, I'm just requesting approval of our preliminary budget as presented this morning.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the commission vote to approve the 2022-2023 preliminary budget as presented in the public hearing this morning.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote.
Commissioner Ware?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Chairman Hernandez?
Yes,
Thank you.
John.
thank you, Joan.
Did a good job, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 11, discuss, take action on a work and financial plan between Colfax County, United States Department of Agriculture, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services, Wildlife Services, and I believe you have the paperwork in front of you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the commission vote to approve the work and financial plan between Colfax County and the United States Department of Agriculture and Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service Wildlife Services.
Any second?
I'll second that, I have a question.
Okay.
Is this
We have a motion and a second, discussion or questions?
this costing the county anything?
Yes, sir, that was budgeted.
Oh, that was a part of the budget? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Lord,
Okay, all right. So a motion and a second, let's do a
Commissioner
roll call.
Ware?
vote.
Yes.
yes.
Chairman Bernardes?
Yes. Thank you, Joanna. Item number 12, discuss take action on the lodger's tax funding request, whatever it takes, Raton, open rodeo, non-promotional.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Clerk, County Manager, Amanda Scarrett, Lodges Tax Clerk. So, this is a non-promotional one, right? Is that what you said?
Non-promotional, yes.
Okay, so, this is for sanitation services and ambulance services to the annual rodeo. And it
Mr.
is
Chairman,
overestimated just a little bit, so, because we were having a hard time getting, information from people that were in emergency, area because of the fire. So when I had to present this to the Lodgers Tax Board, I just overestimated it to make sure that it would be covered.
Okay, Mr. Ware?
Mr. Chairman, my only question is, are these, two questions actually. Are these funds being paid directly by the county to these providers? And my second question is the provider for EMS services, the city of Raton?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Wu?
Yeah, just one quick question. Amanda, do they present you with a bill to a breakdown of the costs and all that stuff in full bit?
Yes. I actually got both of those invoices in my office. I just barely got them, so I didn't put them in a packet.
So they show you where the $17,000 spent.
AAA septic, I think's quote was $1,200, and Raton ambulance services, it was a little over 1,000, I think it was like 1,046, so this is way overestimated.
Yeah, my only concern is I just don't like giving a blank check without any proper receipts or
No, those are
receipts
presented
or expenditures or actual costs incurred and things of this nature.
before Danielle actually writes out the checks, I give her the invoices, so. Give her a copy of the invoice.
And then they're signed by the county manager?
Yes.
So Marty, you'll take care of that and make sure that that's all good. I'll move that we approve the lodge tax funding request as it's presented.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Ware?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Chairman Bernardes?
Yes. Item number 13, discuss take action on the lodger's tax funding request. Whatever it takes, Raton, open rodeo, this is the promotional.
So this is for radio advertisement, news advertisement, signs, promotional banners, window signs, just various advertisement for the rodeo. And this fund will be, some of it will be direct invoice to me and some will be managed by a TA Rodeo, Tammy and Island Life. Because they have their own people that do a lot of banners and stuff for them. So what you do is, I believe they're only going to receive a little under 7,000 for what they ordered and what they need it for. The other 10,000 will be managed by me.
There
So
again.
the radio stations I've been working with, they will invoice me. We're using LMNOC, KCRT, and KRTN, which is Taos, Raton, and Trinidad radio stations, for advertisement. And we haven't gotten with any newspaper, but possibly World Journal.
There again, Monty, I would just want to make sure that the money is spent for what they asked for and that it's all accountable.
And Commissioner Ledoux, part of our ordinance and part of our guide states that we can give that whole 17,000 to them, and they're responsible to keep
I
it in a
understand
separate
that.
bank account and provide all the invoices.
I understand what that ordinance says, but all I'm saying is I just want to ensure, I want the county to ensure that it's spent the way it's requested.
And I think what Commissioner would do is want his backup. Prove there wasn't, what was it for? And.
They have
that's manageable.
45 days after their event to turn in all of their information, just so you know.
I'll make that, Commissioners.
I'll make a motion, we approve this lodge tax money, the amount of $17,000 for the bond promotion.
Second,
Second,
motion and second, do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Rea?
yes.
Yes.
Chairman Fernandez?
Yes. Item number 14, discuss take action on lodger's tax fund request, which is the Blue Dragonfly Brewing non-promotional.
And again, we overestimated this because the sheriff's office was busy with the fire, so, I wasn't sure how many, sheriff's offices they were gonna need, so I told Blue Dragonfly, just do it by 4 times how many hours you can use them at $50 an hour. So we came up with the amount of 3,200, but I believe their quote was for 26 or 24, I don't remember, Leonard's not in here anymore. But it was a little under the 32.
And Mr. Chairman, Amanda, you're gonna pay this bill directly?
Yes.
Or the county is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You make a motion, then, Rick?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the commission vote to approve a lodger's tax funding request for Blue Dragonfly Brewing, non-promotional.
Is there a second? A motion and a second, is do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Rea?
Yes.
Commissioner Duty?
Yes.
Chairman Fernandez?
Yes. Thank you, Becca.
Thank you.
Item number 16, discuss ordinance number 2022-01, amending ordinance number 2017-01, which is the personnel policy, chain of command policy, and I think this is our second meeting, second one.
I looked at this, Mr. Chairman, and my changes are highlighted there, and that's, and things of this nature, and I'm okay with it. Other than that, I have no comment on the ordinance.
Any other comments or questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, I agree with the changes.
Okay. Item number 16, Commissioner's docket, Commissioner Ware.
You know, I know it's gonna sound a little redundant, but, and they're not here now, but I've been participating with the emergency manager and the fire marshal for Colfax County, and I can tell you that we all can be very proud of both of them. I will tell you that the process has not been smooth, actually far from it, but our staff, the county staff, has always acted in a very professional manner and actually dealt positively with negative situations. I think in the beginning, there was a little bit of a communication issue, but once we worked that out, and that was a day or so, that was the problem. Beyond that, Tom and Nick have done just a tremendous job in working with people from around, you know, we had 36 states represented, teams from 36 states represented in fighting this fire. And both of them have done just great work, and I wish they were here. But we really owe them all our appreciation for the work that they've done. There are changes. There was actually a meeting yesterday. I didn't get to hear the results of it, but there are going to be changes in events. For example, I know that the Balloons Over Angel Fire event, which is usually the first weekend in June, is going to be moved to some date in August. I don't have the exact date yet, but I just want the commission to be aware that there's going to be a lot of changes in events and maybe elimination of events, and I don't know how it's going to impact us, Jonah, but I can see our GRTs dropping or at least being shifted into the second quarter of the year. So I just think from a financial perspective, we need to be aware of that and be prepared to respond. Thank you.
That question on your presentation there on that balloon thing, is that held on Angel Fire property or county property?
County property.
Okay, so we would receive some revenue out of that. I don't know how much, but it's probably, anything we receive is more than welcome, so, okay. Mr. Chairman, having worked with both counties, I'll tell you what, I gotta commend the people in San Miguel County too. They're on top of things, and they actually have bigger issues than we have in terms of what's going on. And, you know, and I hear those briefings that sheriff over there has done a hell of a job, man. He's, you know, and then the governor has paid a lot of attention over there as well. And I think you're right. I wish we would try to get her over here so she can pay a little bit of attention to us. But, you know, I just think that, you know, unfortunately, we have to go through some of these things before we realize where our deficits are and how we can make them better and things of this nature. So I think that truly the biggest issue was the communication aspect and how that information was given and not given and things of this nature. So having all that information in hand, I guarantee you, not that I want another fire, but I think the next fire will be much easier for everybody to handle because they'll have that hierarchy determined with respect to communication and things of this nature, which I think is awesome. There's the annual meeting of the board of directors for the county is coming up, so I just want to remind the other two commissioners on when that is. I probably am not going to be able to go. I have some medical issues that I need to deal with, not anything life-threatening, you know, but there's just some things I need to deal with, so. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, mine's short. I think I've given some of my report earlier about the meetings that we're gonna have this afternoon. And the report that I made on the concerns about our watershed and Sugar Reef Canyon and one of the things that I did talk to County Manager Gore is, and at some point, I think we all need to sit down after this fire is over with and whether it's July or August, to see, as he was explaining to me, that, which he had some very good points, is we need to figure out what we've done right, what we've done wrong, as a commission, as a county, just to chat about it and figure out, you know, what could we do better and better prepare ourselves in the future. You know, these don't come very often, and hopefully we don't have any more, but I think we need to learn from this fire what took place. And I do have to commend the staff and the elected officials when we had to do emergency resolutions. The commission got together very quickly, whether Commissioner Weir had to come down from Angel Fire and get it done, and we met and got our resolutions through to be sent to the governor and wherever else they need to go to make sure that we get funding. So I want to thank all the commission. Bobby also, I mean, you were either in San Miguel County, Las Vegas, and you made sure to come down and meet and sign off on the resolutions, the emergency management resolutions that we had to send to the state. As I said, also with Brett coming down from Angel Fire when he was in the middle of packing up and getting his family out of Angel Fire. So, but also the staff put the resolutions together very quickly for us, and so I'm very proud of the work, the elected officials, to make sure we're doing things right. Rieta, keep us in line on the meetings and stuff, even though they were emergency quick meetings. So I just want to thank everyone for doing that. And I've got to say, for the new county manager, for the record, has done an excellent job in stepping in and performing his position. I know he's got some learning to do because I haven't told him everything that I think he needs to learn or know about the county that I learned in the 50-some days that I was the acting county manager. But I got to tell you that he stepped in and he's done an excellent job so far. I really truly believe he'll continue to do an excellent job as a county manager, and I want to thank him for stepping in and taking on the position. So The next one is the manager's doctor.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Very nice words, and very much appreciated. Like Commissioner Fernandez said, I definitely hit the ground running. As we started, even before accepting this position formally, I know Commissioner Fernandez and I, along with the county emergency manager, looked at, we actually worked to get a conference center turned into a first aid area for evacuees from the fires. I think we did a good job in obtaining hotels and things like that for some of these evacuees that needed assistance. And we also worked with the local churches, especially the Catholic Church, to get people hygiene items and things like that. So I think that was very good. I appreciate the fact that Commissioner Weir was at all those fire briefings, and I think when you have an opportunity to see those Type 1 teams, and just like Commissioner Fernandez said, they are the best in the world at fighting fires. So I think we had the best resources that we could get in the world to battle those fires. And I agree with our emergency manager. This isn't a sprint. This is going to be a marathon. And that I think it's very feasible that what will actually put out that fire is probably the next winter that we have. Those things are just enormous, but I too would like to just commend our emergency personnel and the sheriff and the fire marshal and emergency manager. I think they work together, like Commissioner Weir said, very professionally, and representing the county very professionally in saving lives and saving property. Some of the other issues that we dealt with, Commissioners, we did have a very busy weekend as well. We had events out at the Whittington Center, and we had events, the motocross, and worked with Amanda on that. And along with the motocross, we also had a motorcycle rally of veterans going through on their way to Washington, D.C. So it was a very busy weekend. From some of the concerns that we had last time the motocross came to the county and the rodeo grounds, we did have some issues with them tapping into a water supply. It was unauthorized and which caused a freezing situation last winter. We took a preemptive step based on the information I got from Commissioner Fernandez, and I took the sheriff's office out there along with Fred and just said, you know, we appreciate what you're doing, and we want it to have a positive effect on our businesses in town and our citizens, and at the same time, we want you to be responsible and respectful, and no tapping into our systems, and also with the drinking and stuff like that, I reminded them of Mexico laws on underage drinking and what their responsibilities were. And I'm very proud that I think they took the notice in the proper way, and they worked well. From what I understand, Amanda called me, I guess they had thousands out there at the motocross. And local businesses benefited because it was cold, and they came in to get coats and jackets and things, sweaters. So I think all in all, it went very well. I also want to thank the sheriff's office because they had patrols out there. Sergeant Dominguez arranged a schedule so that that area was heavily patrolled by our sheriff's office, and make sure that everything was going well there. Just moving forward a little bit, I did follow up on a request from Commissioner Fernandez to follow up at Tri-State. There were some calls that we received, and essentially what he's wanting to do is just like with everybody else, cost of fuel is going up, his cost to pick up solid waste is going up. So he did provide an amended amendment to the contract, and I have already had the county attorney review that. It looks good. I think it's probably fair under the circumstances. And I have sent that back to Tri-State for their review, and I'll communicate with him, see if we can get that back, or if he has any issues, and hopefully that'll be slated for the next commissioner meeting on the 14th. Once again, I just want to also thank Jonah, the manager's office. I think the amount of work that you have had to do, not only in preparing the budget, which is enough in and of itself, but also we're going to start getting into the cost of this flyer and setting aside receipts and looking at justification and things like that in order to be refunded. So once again, we come from one financial issue with the budget and into another financial issue of making sure that all those receipts are accounted for and that we can turn that in for refund from the federal government. And once again, just second everything that's been said, I think the emergency personnel and emergency responders have just done an absolutely fantastic job, and I think they're heroes in everybody's book. That's all I have to.
Okay. Any questions to the county manager?
No, I think he's put in a pretty tough position, and I think he's jumped in with his, feet wide open and his, no protection other than, talk about jumping into the fire. Well, that's a good example, but I think you've done a good job, and I look forward to working with you and things of this nature. And unfortunately, you had a million issues we had to deal with, but there's less now than there was when you got in. But Mr. Chairman, I would like for you to consider a special meeting next Monday, or, I think we've had some unsolved issues that we need to move forward with, and some personnel issues and things that we need to deal with, and provide our county manager with a direction as to how we're gonna deal with that. And I'd like to,
Next Monday? Next Monday's a holiday.
next Tuesday, then,
Next Tuesday.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to participate in that meeting on next Tuesday. I will let you know I'll have to be remote. Yeah, I will actually be out of town visiting family. My daughter's getting ready to have a baby until probably the day before our next scheduled meeting.
This is more important. I'm just teasing. I think, did Al have something?
I do, too quick, what time?
Well, you
Well,
okay
I
with
only
him doing virtual?
That's fine.
That's fine, okay, 9 o'clock next Tuesday?
Nine, okay. I
That'll
only
do
ask
that,
because
Mr. Chairman?
if we get it in the paper, I have a deadline today, noon. So
For
if you
next
want-
Tuesday?
For next Tuesday, yes.
I thought it was 72 hours.
Well, yes, but if you want to get into the paper, the working on paper, I have a deadline of today.
Okay, I would like for you to, Mr. Chairman, if you're amenable to that, let's call a meeting for
That's fine.
next Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
That's fine. We can do that.
And then I'm going to have a special meeting Monday after the election for canvas.
No, you don't.
What day is that?
Oh, August and July.
It's the 31st,
You don't-
Mr. Chairman.
What
Mr.
do you mean I
Chairman.
don't count? Those are the votes that count.
Special meeting on the 31st? What day is
No,
it?
no. Our meeting is on the 31st. Our
And then a
meeting.
special meeting for Rheta on the,
Rayetta says,
Yes.
you have to wait till after the election, don't you?
13th. Yeah, I just wanted to put it out.
Yeah, hers,
Canvas?
Yes, please.
would either be the 13th or the 14th. The 14th is our regular meeting, we can't do it then. Well, can we or can we not?
Yes, you can.
Roy, why don't we just do it at 8:30 on the 14th for hers, and then a regular meeting on the 14th instead of having so many special meetings over here, that we let the county manager do a job. Whether Rayetta likes it or not.
We have to-
That's just messed up, man.
It's only days after the election.
Yeah, we have to plan this.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, roll call?
Commissioner Ware?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Chairman Fernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
What a big deal, my